What is going on, guys? It's Modded Warfare here. Welcome back to another episode of the new PS4 jailbreak tutorial series. So in this episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how to run the PS4 exploit offline, as well as running it locally as well. Mainly because if for whatever reason you're in a place where you lose access to the internet from time to time, you'll still be able to access the exploit. Or of course, if the website that's hosting your favorite host goes down at some point in the future, you'll still have it backed up and you can still use it locally whenever you want. So pretty useful to be able to do this. You can also, of course, when hosting it locally, you can, customize it or change out the payloads with other payloads. And that's what I'm covering here in this video. I'll show you guys a few different methods of hosting the exploit offline and locally. So the first method of hosting the exploit offline is to actually be online initially so that you can go to one of the exploit hosts, whichever one you like to use. Again, we'll just use caro218.ir because it doesn't take long to type in. And we can go to one of the exploit hosts right here. And as you can see, when you first go on the exploit, it will start caching it for offline use, which is what this percentage number that's counting up is doing. It's just caching the page offline, not just the page, but all of the payloads on the page as well, so that you'll be able to turn off the internet and still access the website. So as you can see, once it's done, it says turn off the internet and reopen the page. You don't have to turn off the internet in normal cases, but obviously if you want to be offline, then you can turn the internet off. And then as long as that page is bookmarked, then when you next open it, it should go back onto that same page. And even though you're offline, it will actually load the page. And this is the auto exploit host, so it actually tries to do the jailbreak as soon as you go on there. And there we go. We can now run whatever payload we want, and we're completely offline. So that works, and that's an easy solution, but it's not a good solution to be permanently offline because you still need to be connected to the internet initially to cache the pages. Plus, if you ever run into issues where you can't load payloads in future and you're just getting out of memory errors all the time, then you have to usually clear your cache and your website data by going into the settings and deleting your cookies and your website data and all of that to fix that issue. But when you delete the website data, you will also delete the cache. So when you try and go back onto that exploit site again, you will just get a network error, as you can see right here, because you're not connected to the internet. So that is one of the problems right there using that method. So the first method I'm going to show you is how to host the exploit locally on your computer. So we'll switch on over to the computer here. And what we're going to do is we're going to head on to a exploit site. So this is Caro's GitHub page. And again, there's lots of other, good exploit sites out there like Lethals and Chameleons and, many, many others, PRBs, etc. So right now we'll just go to caro218.github.io. And this gives us the source code to his exploit. And from there, we can just download that as a zip file. Then we can download a program that will allow us to set up a server on our computer, a local server. So we'll use XAMPP. Obviously, there's lots of other programs that allow you to do this on Windows and on other operating systems, but XAMPP works on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS as well. So just go ahead and download the latest version. The PHP version doesn't matter because the exploit hosts generally don't use PHP, or most of them don't anyway. So you can just download whichever version you want. So then we can just install XAMPP by running the installer, but make sure you right click it and run it as administrator. And then we'll just do next, next, next until we have it completely installed. Okay, so from here we can start the XAMPP control panel. And we'll try and just start the server, see if it works. Okay, we get an error message. That's because we need to run it as administrator. So what we'll do is we'll click up here, we'll search for XAMPP control panel, and then right click and run it as administrator. So from here, what we're going to do is just click the Explorer button right here. And then you want to go to the htdocs folder. And in here is just like a sample website. You can just go ahead and delete all the files in here. And then of course, what we're going to do is take our exploit host, in this case, Caro's, open it up and extract the entire contents of the website into that folder. So we'll just extract all the files for Caro's site in here. Okay, and from here, all we have to do is start the Apache server. So we just click start next to Apache, and that starts the server. And then from here, if I just type in localhost into the search bar on my computer, it should take me to the site. So that means that it is actually working. So then all you need to do is grab your IP address by going to the command prompt on your computer and typing in ipconfig. And as you can see, my IP address is right there. That's the local IP address of my computer. I'm also connecting using connection sharing on my PS4, which means I can also connect to my computer via this IP address as well for the Ethernet adapter. So anyway, once you get the IP address of your computer, you can then go back onto your PS4, go on the internet browser and type that IP address in. Obviously, you need to be reconnected to your network to do this. So you need to be connected to a router, but that router doesn't have to be connected to the internet. You just need to have your computer and your PS4 connected to the same router or hotspot or something like that. And then from there, you can go to the internet browser, type in that IP address, in which case 192.168.137.1, the IP address of my computer. And then I can go there and boom, it takes me straight to the host. And if I go on here, you can see how fast it caches as well. And now that it's cached, I could, again, turn off the internet completely and we should be good to go. So yeah, pretty simple right there. You can get access to the exploit. And it's much, much faster. As you can see, when I go on here, it takes me there straight away. If I try and go to the normal host, oh no, this is manual. So there, page cached successfully, reopen the browser. And as you can see, it runs much, much faster. So it gets on there straight away. We have access to all the payloads. So yeah, it will just give you a better experience in terms of the speed of how everything runs. So yeah, that is one way of kind of hosting things locally and offline. If you want to add additional payloads, you can do so because you're hosting it on your computer. So yeah, you have a bunch of different options there. So that's another way of hosting the exploit locally or offline. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to host it on your phone if you don't have access to a computer. When you're trying to jailbreak your PS4, perhaps, if you have no internet access and no computer with you, maybe you take your PS4 somewhere when you're traveling somewhere or something, and you want to be able to still jailbreak it, then what you can do is host the exploit on your phone and create like a hotspot on your phone, and then you'll be able to access the exploit that way. So switching on over to my phone here. Okay, so I've got my phone up here. So what I'm going to do is head to Rare Ranger on GitHub and go to his PS4 Android app. And we are just going to go ahead and download this. So if we head to view code, or go to the actual releases, where are the releases? Here we go, releases down at the bottom, +10, download the APK file, download. Now there may also be some iOS apps that are the same, but I'm not entirely sure. So if I find any, I'll put them in the description. So anyway, we're just going to open the APK file. Obviously, make sure you have like allow apps from unknown sources or whatever enabled in the settings so that you can install APK files. And then we'll just go ahead and install the app and open it. And here we go. So this is what the app looks like. Now, obviously, I'm connected to my network right now. So if I hit start server, it's hosting on my normal home network. But of course, you don't have to be hosting on your home network. So what I'm going to do is turn off my Wi-Fi first of all, and then what I'll do just to kind of simulate what I would do if I didn't have internet. So if I didn't have internet, I would obviously enable the mobile hotspot and set up a mobile hotspot. So you can see I've already got one set up here. Password PS4 exploit 2.4 gigahertz. So I'll turn that mobile hotspot on just like that. And then from there, I'll go back and run the app again and run the PS4 jailbreak app. And then again, I'll just start the server. There's kind of a bug with this app where it says 0.0.0.0 because I'm not connected to Wi-Fi, which is kind of ridiculous because this app is supposed to, or you would think it should be designed to work as a hotspot when you don't have access to the internet to host the exploit on your phone. It is working. You just, for some reason, it's showing 0.0.0, which is not the correct IP address. So all you need to do now is head back over to your PS4. And on the PS4, you're going to go into your settings. You're going to go to network, set up an internet connection using Wi-Fi, choose an easy setup, select your mobile hotspot as the network that you want to connect to. And yeah, there you go. So you're done. So once it's connected, we can view connection status and wait for all of this stuff to update. And there we go. So you can see the primary DNS 192.168.43.1. So that is the address that you want to connect to on the web browser to access the server that's hosted on your phone. So 192.168.43.1. So if we go to our internet browser, you want to make sure you enter http:// before entering the IP address. And then again, it's 192.168.43.1 in my case, and then :8080 at the end for the port number, and then go. And as you can see, it takes me right here to the site. So it's caching. And there we go. Offline cache ran successfully. Now it's running the exploit. And again, this is completely being hosted on my phone. There's no router involved here whatsoever. So there you go. As you can see, I guess it auto loads Gold Hen. I already had Gold Hen running, but whatever. So it auto loads Gold Hen for you, and then you're good. And it also allows you to send payloads on 9020 as well, which is interesting because on my phone right here, you can just download some payloads onto your phone into the downloads directory. And then I could do like add a custom payload here. And from here, I could just add whatever payload I want. I've got a bunch of payloads here, like the FTP payload or maybe the kernel dumper, for example. Although this sends it on 9090, this particular Android app, which means I'd have to go into settings, go to Gold Hen and enable the bin loader server. And now that I'm on the bin loader server, I could then send a payload like this just by hitting send payload. And boom, there you go. Payload received from 43.1, which is my phone. And it just sent the payload directly from my phone over there. Obviously, I don't have a USB drive plugged in to dump the kernel, but that is just an example. You can also use the Payload Guest Homebrew app as well to load payloads locally from your hard drive or from your USB drive once you have Gold Hen running. So that's really why this host only does Gold Hen automatically, because once you have Gold Hen running, you can send payloads using the bin loader server through the Payload Guest Homebrew app or through the phone, any payloads you have downloaded to your phone. Another quick mention is it also has this mount exploit USB image and unmount exploit USB image. That is only for rooted Android devices, I believe, which can do something where it can basically like toggle the power to the USB on and off, or like some kind of USB emulations. So the phone can basically take the place of your USB drive with a hacked image on it by mounting the exploited USB image when it asks you to plug in the USB drive, and then unmounting the exploit USB image when it asks you to unplug it. Obviously, you need to have the phone connected with its charge cable to the PS4 to do that. And I believe the phone has to be rooted as well in order for that feature to work. Okay, so the last method is a completely offline solution in which you need to buy one of these like Wi-Fi chips, like an ESP8266. And basically what you want to do is get one of those chips. They're fairly cheap, fairly reasonably priced. And then all you need to do is connect that with a USB cable to your computer. Once you've done that, we need to basically download the drivers for the chip. So the CP210X drivers. So if you go to downloads, obviously all the links will be in the video description. You just download the universal Windows driver for Windows and install it. And you can install the driver by just creating a folder on your desktop, extracting all of the files right here into that folder. And we'll just rename this to ESP driver. Then from there, all you need to do is go to Device Manager on your computer. So Device Manager right here. There it is right there. So it'll show up like this as like an unknown driver. And then right click on it. You want to update driver, browse my computer for driver software. Browse for that ESP driver folder you created on your desktop and click next. And then that will install it right there. So once you have the driver successfully installed, note down the COM port that it's using. So in this case, it's COM port 3. Then we need to download the Node MCU flasher, which you can download right here. Again, link will be in the description. So download the flasher and run it right here. So then select the right COM port, which in this case is COM port 3, and then browse for your exploit. So in this case, I'm using Lethal 900 Gold Hen, which just loads Gold Hen. There are a few others that load a couple of other payloads as well. Like they give you the option, but Gold Hen is all you really need to jailbreak the system. And then again, you can use Payload Guest and, you know, the bin loader server to load additional payloads after that. So we'll just use this. So we'll click browse and we'll select that bin file for Lethal's host. Then we're going to select the baud rate on 115200 The flash mode should be on dual for an ESP8266, as you can see, DIO, and other modes for different chips depending on what you're using. It does say most ESP8266s use QIO, but I believe mine is definitely DIO. It seems to work fine, so I'm going to select that option, and then yes to wipe all data, and then flash using Node MCU. And there we go, it detects the chip. So first of all, it erased the chip, so it erases the previous, bin file that was on there, and now it's writing our new bin file to the chip. Okay, so we're now done. As you can see, hash of data is verified, leaving, and done. Now, to be clear, this chip that we wrote and this data we wrote, you can use like an ESP8266 to auto load like the USB with the exploited image on it. That is not what we're doing. That requires like a ton of extra work. All we're doing is just putting a bin file on here. This is a little Wi-Fi chip, so it will host its own little Wi-Fi network for us that will then host the Gold Hen payload so that we can access that offline. It's its own isolated network, so we will be completely offline, but we'll still be able to access the exploit. That is the idea. So what we're going to do is just plug that ESP8266 chip into your PS4. Now, if you're worried about it using up one of your USB ports, you can directly power it via other methods. You can plug it into another device that's near your PS4, as long as it's within the Wi-Fi range of the chip. You can also power it directly by there's a 3-volt pin and a ground pin, so you don't have to use up a USB port on the PS4. But for quickness, it's an easy thing to do. So just plug it into your PS4 to test. Okay, so once we're back on the PS4, what we're going to do is head into our settings, go back to our network settings, set up an internet connection using Wi-Fi, and make sure it's a custom setup. When it asks what Wi-Fi network to use, your ESP chip's Wi-Fi network should show up. In this case, it's called PS4 exploit. So I'm going to select it, select a password. So the password is hackmyps4, in this case for Lethal's one. But obviously there are, other exploit hosts that will have different passwords. So we're going to do hackmyps4 and click OK. And then we're going to do automatic IP, do not specify DHCP, automatic DNS, automatic MTU, and do not use a proxy server. So we didn't change anything in the settings. The reason we don't do an easy setup is because it kind of fails at the end when you try and do an easy setup, and then it keeps trying to get you to reset up the connection again. Whereas if you do custom setup, then it will let you complete the setup process. So once we've done that, we can see that hopefully we'll get our IP address and all that. There we go. So we've got an IP address. So I believe this will work from the user guide as well. So if we go to the user guide, it should redirect us to Lethal's exploit page. Yep, there we go. As you can see, it's taking us straight to the exploit and trying to cache it offline. I mean, we're offline anyway. This network is completely isolated from the internet. And there we go. That's it. Loaded. So you can send payloads on port 9020. If we quit out of here, it didn't try and load Gold Hen because we're already running it. But another thing you can do if you want to access it through the web browser as well, if we just go to our network settings, so network view connection status, we can see the primary DNS is 10.13.37.1, good old 1337. So 10.13.37.1. So if we go to our internet browser and just go to that DNS address, so 10.13.37.1, if I go there, that will also take me to the exploit host. So again, doing its offline cache, and then it goes straight into loading the exploit again. And again, because I've already loaded the exploit before and I've already got Gold Hen running, it's not going to really do anything. But obviously, if you hadn't ran Gold Hen, it would load Gold Hen automatically here, or it would give you a button once it's finished loading that would say load Gold Hen or whatever. So yeah, that's basically it. I believe it just auto loads Gold Hen though, just like the Android app. So yeah, that's basically it. And of course, you can load your payloads on 9020, or once Gold Hen is actually running, you can enable the bin loader server, load payloads via 9090 port number, and obviously use payload guest to load additional payloads. And I've covered payload guest, by the way, in another video. If you don't know how to set that up, I will link it in the video description and in the cards in the top right hand corner, but it's part of the main playlist linked in the video description that goes to all of my tutorials that I've made for 9.00 so far. So anyway, once you have Gold Hen running with the ESP8266 chip, you can then go into the settings menu and enable something like the FTP server. Now, this is interesting because when I enable the FTP server, obviously this is its own isolated network. You can see the IP address 37.100 that popped up there. So what if I want to actually, connect to my PS4 from another device now? Because this is its own isolated network. So all you have to do, like if I want to use my computer to FTP to the PS4 now, if I switch back over to the computer for a second, all I have to do on my computer is connect to that same network. So it's not showing up right now. If I just, disconnect from this network, there we go. It's showing up there in the bottom, PS4 exploit. So if I just connect to this and then enter the same password, hack my PS4, connect, yes. And there we go. You can see we're now connected. So once we're connected, I can now, send payloads to the PS4 or connect via FTP. So 10.13.37.100 was the IP address of the PS4 while it's connected to that network. And as you can see, I can still access FTP from my computer or from my phone or whatever, transfer files, use the remote package installer, internal package installer, or, send payloads with Netcat or anything like that. So you can still communicate with your PS4 from other devices while it's connected to that chip. As long as you just connect those other devices to the same chip, then you should be good. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's how you host the PS4 exploit completely offline or locally on your phone via a hotspot or on your computer via a server like Apache with XAMPP or anything else. So yeah, multiple ways there that you can host the exploit offline so that, you don't have to rely on any sites, any external sites to load the jailbreak. You'll always have access to it one way or another. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video.